Good evening to all of you. Welcome to the 26th Lalit Doshi Memorial Lecture. This is an annual event, but with a difference. All the 25 lectures earlier have taken place at the YB Chavan Center, Mumbai. This year, due to the reasons that all of you are well aware of, we are having the event in live webcast on Microsoft Teams. However, this is in keeping with the spirit of that Lalit Doshi had. He could adapt himself to any situation and come out with flying colors. This lecture will be as eventful as the earlier 25 lectures have been, if not better. A few words regarding Lalit Doshi, the person after whom this event is named, and the foundation which has his name. I knew Lalit Doshi since 1959, when he and I entered St. Xavier's College, Mumbai. Both of us did our graduation from the college, passed out in 1963. He was a student of economics, I was a student of political science. Then we did our MA together and then entered the IS. Lalit was a favorite student of economics of Dr. R.K. Hazari, who later on went on to become Deputy Governor of the Reserve Bank. He taught students at St. Xavier's College for a few years, and Lalit learnt a lot from him. Generally, St. Xavier's College does not attract much students in government service. However, the class of 1963 was an exception. 3 of us from that class went on to join government service. Lalit Doshi, Vijay Nambiar, who was also a political science student, and myself. Vijay, of course, went on to the foreign service, later on became ambassador at China, Pakistan, United Nations. I'm sure he is among the audience here, listening to all of us from Delhi. After doing MA, Lalit joined the service. He was allotted to Maharashtra cadre, did his district postings, and then went on to specialize in industry. The foundation of industries in Maharashtra was laid down in the 60s and 70s, largely due to the efforts of an enlightened political leadership supported by a strong team of administrators. Lalit Doshi had a big role in this. He was with MIDC, CCOM, and later on Secretary Industries also. But it was not only industries that he worked in. For some time, he looked after the employment guarantee scheme in the planning department. In fact, when Government of India started this scheme at the national level, he was one of the few persons who was invited to Delhi to know more about the scheme. At that time, Dr. Page, the chairman of the Legislative Council, Dr. Venkateshan, who was then Secretary Planning Council, and Lalit Doshi were among the major players in the employment guarantee scheme. He also played an important role in the implementation of the Urban Ceiling Act that was there. He tried to make it as practical as possible. Then in 1985, the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Vasantdada Patil, had just resigned. The Chief Secretary, Mr. Adi Pradhan, had gone to Delhi as Home Secretary, and B.G. Deshmukh had taken over. Lalit and I both opted to go to Government of India on being empaneled as Joint Secretaries. Our orders came from Government of India. But the new Chief Minister felt that good officers should not leave the state. They should remain with the state, and stayed the transfers. This was a big blow at that time, but thanks to the intervention of Vasantdada Patil and the efforts of Mr. B.G. Deshmukh, who was the Chief Secretary, the new chief minister was made to convince that it is in the interest of the state as well as the officers that we will be allowed to go to Government of India. And in 1985, both of us rushed to Delhi as soon as the stay was vacated. We stayed in just neighboring houses at Vinaymarg, Satyamarg, and both our families were constantly at each other's house. Lalit spent 5 years in petrochemicals industry at that time. He was an officer who never limited himself only to office work. He insisted on being in the field also and getting actual feedback. He was a family man, but yet approachable to everybody. In 1990, after completing 5 years in Government of India, both of us came back to Mumbai, where Sharad Pawar was the Chief Minister. I came as Secretary to CM. He came back to the prestigious CCOM. Later on, from CCOM, he went on to become the Secretary Industries. And in 1994, he accompanied Mr. Sharad Pawar to Davos. The Chief Minister had been invited to Davos to participate, and he took along with him Lalit Doshi, Secretary Industries, and Vinay Bansal, who was Secretary to the CM at that time. On 30th January at Davos, after completing the day's proceedings, Lalit and Vinay Bansal returned back to the hotel and went for a walk. There, Lalit had a heart attack and he passed away much before his time. Lalit was a simple man who was different from many of the administrators. He always tried to find a solution to any problem that was there. There was no that he accepted. He kept on trying. He was a simple person, but yet available to all and friendly, whether it was an industrialist or the common man, and he tried his best to help out from the given situation. As a person, he was a family man, devoted to Pratima. He was fond of his daughter, Hemal, looked after her, but before she grew up, he unfortunately had to go away. He, wherever he worked, he tried his best and tried to help people and was really a person who was a public servant available to all.